Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Skokie Village Board for Monday, November the 18th, 2024. This evening, we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Village Clerk Manal Desai.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Sutker?
Here.
Trustee Robinson?
Here.
Trustee Kuhn?
Here.
Trustee Johnson?
Here.
Trustee Pierce-Lovan?
Here.
Trustee Klein?
Here.
Mayor Van Dusen?
Here, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda for this evening's meeting. A motion is in order. Trustee Sucker, seconded by Trustee Kuhn. Is there anything on the consent agenda anybody wishes removed?
I want to remove 11E, one of the special use permits with the drive-throughs, just so we can circle back on the discussion we had at the first reading about our drive-through policies.
Okay, 11E, correct? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce-Lovan?
Aye.
Trustee Klein?
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen?
Aye. The motion passes. It gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce Administrative Chief of Illinois, Task Force 1, Joe Moore, who will make a significant presentation, the Humanitarian Service Award to Lieutenant Mike Shea and to the Skokie Fire Department on behalf of the Illinois Mutual Box Alarm System. Joe?
Yes. So on behalf of Mavis, Illinois, I'd like to first present the humanitarian awards to the Skokie Fire Department in the village of Skokie. Task Force 1 is made up of over 200 personnel from 60 different agencies across Illinois and Iowa. So we thank the support that was given to us by Skokie to allow us to borrow Lieutenant Shea for the time in Hurricane Helene. So, thank you very much. Lieutenant Shea, I'd like to come forward and present to you the Mavis Humanitarian Service Award. Your hours of training and dedication to the task force allowed you to be eligible to deploy to Helene. You were able to get there before the storm to help do evacuations during the storm, to rescues, and then search and rescue afterwards for your 16 days. We thank you very much for your service to the people of Oakland County and Asheville, North Carolina. So on behalf of Mavis, Illinois, I'd like to present you with the humanitarian.
Congratulations. Mike's service is an example of what the village of Skokie's police and fire departments are all about. And I needn't tell the people of the village of Skokie that, because they've registered their marked approval many times over the years. As you may be aware, the village every 3 years or so has a survey taken by a professional polling organization, and the purpose of it is to measure each of the village's departments and what do the residents think. Each time we've conducted the survey, and it's been close to 2 decades now, our fire department always registers in the 90th percentile for approval, which is a remarkable record. And for that, we are grateful. And Mike, you're an example of that kind of service. And I think everybody in the room knows that our fire department is also nationally recognized. It's accredited across the board, and that's because of the support that it gets from our community. And Chief Hoflick, thank you for your leadership. We're deeply appreciative for everything, which leads me into the next item, just coincidentally, which is a swearing in by our Board of Fire and Police Commission. Commissioner Nicole Podas will do the honors.
Thank you, Mayor. So, good evening, Mayor Van Dusen, village trustees, Fire Chief Hoflick, and Chief Barnes, and all who are here on this very special evening. I would like to especially acknowledge the family and friends of tonight's fire lieutenants. This is a very proud moment for all of you. I extend my congratulations to you and thank you for supporting your loved ones during this journey that's led to this very special moment for them. Tonight, we swear in 3 newly appointed fire lieutenants. We must never forget that the men and women who serve as first responders in our community deserve our admiration and respect. They are often the first ones on the scene of tragedy and provide security and comfort to those who are suffering and in distress. We invest our first responders with authority to promote and keep the peace, and they have earned our respect, support, and gratitude. And it is my great honor to be part of this very special ceremony tonight. So the way that this will work is I'll call up each fire lieutenant by name and swear you in. So first up, could I please have Lieutenant Scott Wallace? So you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Scott Wallace,
I, Scott Wallace,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Lieutenant Wallace, would you introduce your family and friends who have accompanied you this evening?
Yeah, it looks like my wife Tabitha stepped out. Children, Maddie and Riley, and my dad's right there, Scott, and my mom also stepped out, Gail. They're out there.
Congratulations.
Next up, could I please have Peter Aragon, please? To raise your
I, Peter Aragon,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Lieutenant, would you introduce your family and friends?
Yes, sir. I have a beautiful wife, Annie, my oldest boy, Abe, my brother, Captain Andy Arian, Evanston Fire Department, and my father, Ship Chief Dave Arian, retired Evanston Fire Department.
Welcome.
Certificate of appointment. Congratulations. And last but not least, Christopher Ryder's group.
Christopher Riley,
Do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a fire lieutenant to the best of my abilities.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a fire lieutenant to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Christopher, guess what?
Yes. Right now, my wife's here, my two oldest kids, Ian and Matthew, and my mother-in-law, Kathy, and my mom is outside with my youngest also.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And here's your certificate of appointment.
All right, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Scott, Peter, Christopher, congratulations. I won't repeat the speech I gave just a couple minutes ago, but please know how proud we are of you, and we appreciate everything that you have done for the Skokie Fire Department and that we know you will continue doing. Thank you very much. We're proud of you. Let's take a break. Seems like we only just got here, but let's take a break so everybody can congratulate our new lieutenant. Okay, the meeting will return to order, and next item is report of the village manager, John Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Van Duzen, trustees. Good evening, everyone. Items A, B, C, and D were approved as tonight's consent agenda, and so that completes my report this evening.
Next item is report of our corporation counsel, Michael Orge.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. Good evening, everyone. Items A, B, C, D, and F were on the consent agenda at the beginning of tonight's meeting as part of my report, and they were adopted at that time. Item E was also on the consent agenda and has been removed. This is the second reading for item E. The first reading was on October 21, 2024. This ordinance will grant a special use permit to allow a limited service restaurant, Cava, with a drive-through lane located at 5442 Toohey Avenue, Skokie, Illinois, in a B4 regional mixed-use shopping district. Cava will occupy 2,511 square feet of tenant space. The drive-through will function for the picking up of mobile orders only. The stacking capacity of the drive-through lane is about 5 vehicles. Mayor, I would request board action on this matter tonight. And in addition, if there are any questions to the village manager, Johanna Nyberg is here as well.
A motion on item E of the corporation council's agenda this evening is in order. You're making the motion, okay? Seconded by trustee Klein. Trustee Johnson.
All right, this has my support. I just wanted to circle back on the drive-throughs process issue that we talked about during the first reading of this ordinance. So last year, at our September 18th, 2023 meeting, we approved a zoning chapter amendment to mitigate some of the negative environmental aspects of drive-throughs through a series of code changes. And then in November, when it came up for a second reading, the board voted to table the adoption of that ordinance for just one meeting until November 20th. But it never made it on that agenda, and so it's kind of disappeared. So it's been a full year, and this zoning chapter amendment has just kind of disappeared without any explicit direction of the board. So since this is just a failure in kind of a process, I want to just make an agenda item request for either of our December meetings and request a second reading of the zoning chapter amendment concerning drive-throughs that we voted to table last year.
Mayor, if I may, I just want to remind the board that there was a memo that was distributed after the last discussion at the board meeting regarding drive-throughs, summarizing the issues and what happened after the November 6th board meeting. And so if there are materials in that memo that the board is of interest in discussing, to please let us know.
Well, I guess my request still stands because the board voted to table this ordinance and we were meant to review it again and we never did. So either way, the board took an explicit action that we need to follow up on. So if the board wants to vote on it or kind of make an explicit decision, I'm totally fine with that either way. But my agenda item request stands is that either at our next meeting or the following meeting in December that we get a second reading of this zoning chapter amendment.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions on the special use permit for 5442 Toohey Avenue? If not, call the roll, please.
Trustee Sudker? Aye. Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce-Lovan?
Aye.
Trustee Klein?
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen?
Aye, the motion passes.
That concludes my report for this evening.
Executive session.
Thank you. I would add then a request for executive session in accordance with paragraph 2C11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act pertaining to the review and discussion of pending litigation.
A motion on the Corporation Council's recommendation for an executive session would be in order. Trustee Pierce-Lovan, seconded by Trustee Klein. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Sutker? Aye. Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Kuhn? Aye. Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Pierce-Lovan? Aye. Trustee Klein? Mayor Van Dusen?
Aye, the motion passes.
That would conclude my report for tonight.
Thank you.
Can I get something under unfinished business?
Okay.
So since our last meeting, Skokie voters officially approved the term limits referendum that the board placed on the November ballot. So I just wanted to inquire about a timeline for when we're going to be reviewing an ordinance to kind of officially add this to our village code.
We've discussed it briefly, trying to look at the various upcoming meetings. We would expect in January to have it here.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you.
One of the meetings in January.
Perfect. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is new business. Trustee Johnson asked if the board would take a look at the permissibility of backyard chickens. It was referred to the Board of Health for a review. So I would recognize Dr. Lynn to give the Board of Health review, and then Trustee Johnson wants to,
Well, I guess since I made the initial proposal, I'd love to just introduce it.
well, what we did is we asked the Board of Health to make a recommendation, so we'll go with Dr.
Sorry,
Lynn.
just as a process point, so the board actually, I'm very much welcome Mike, Charlie, and Dr. Lynn's input. Just, the board's never officially asked for the Board of Health's input. Just process-wise, since I'm the member of the board that made the agenda item request, it would be proper for me to introduce it.
Well, and you will have an opportunity to do your
I-
PowerPoint, so let's just move ahead.
Colleagues, since this is my agenda item, why would I be prevented from introducing this item?
Let's get the information.
I-
Understand.
I'm going to provide the introduction and the proposal that I've made, and then I'm happy to receive the response.
Dr. Lynn?
Sorry, point of order. This is my agenda item request, so why wouldn't I be prevented from introducing this item?
Dr. Lynn will make the Board of Health's
Okay.
report.
This would not, Mayor, sorry, you would not do this for any other member of this board. If any other member of this board made an agenda item, you'd allow them to introduce it.
Proceed.
All right.
For those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Edward Lynn, and I have the honor to serve as the chair of the Skokie Board of Health. And I want to thank you, the board trustees, mayor, for inviting us to discuss the Board of Health recommendation from our October 10th meeting. We were asked to review by the village leadership the existing ordinance prohibiting chickens, for backyard purposes, and to determine whether or not the prohibition should be retained or repealed and why. So I want to just say that my remarks are focused specifically on health and public health issues. And in our research, and a lot of it comes from the CDC, I want to just let people know that there's a significant issue involving communicable diseases and backyard poultry, specifically chickens. There was a review of the CDC material. We also reviewed Trustee Johnson's memo. We looked at the ordinance from our neighbor Evanston, and we looked at a variety of articles. I just want to review a little bit about the CDC's position on this. Clearly, there is, as early as this past May, a major outbreak across the nation involving 48 states of 470 cases of salmonella, which have been traced to backyard chickens. There were hospitalizations, and there was one death, I believe, in Minnesota from this infection. It's well known that chickens can harbor salmonella and be healthy. So there was a lot of recommendations from the CDC in terms of proper hygienic practices and evaluation, and some strict recommendations about, the safekeeping. We also are embroiled, as you're quite aware, with a issue that has a lot of us concerned, but so far hasn't been a big problem, fortunately, in the human population, and that's the quote-unquote bird flu. So it's influenza H5N1. All across the United States, and especially in the Midwest, we're seeing increasing cases, and this involves poultry farming. So this involves, large-scale operations where the poultry has been infected, and apparently it's more associated with the migratory path of waterfowl. And the Chicagoland area where we live is in a migratory path for waterfowl. But as I mentioned, it's mainly in the rural farming areas where these outbreaks have occurred, and they are causing a significant burden on that industry. It's documentation now of the virus being transmitted to adjacent cattle, so we know it's in our milk supply. Fortunately, standard pasteurization techniques makes this not to be an issue. The big question was, and has been raised by a number of authorities, what would happen if there was a lot more people handling poultry in their backyards, and if, a gull or some other bird were to land there and potentially transmit it to the chickens, would this become a bigger issue? So it's more of a concern than necessarily a reality. And the other big issue for Skokie has to do with our increasing problem with control of rats. There's, as you probably very aware, we're in the Chicagoland area, and Chicago and all the surrounding suburbs equally are affected by escalation in the population of rats. And there is good evidence that backyard chickens do contribute potentially to this problem because of feed and waste, and a lot of it, it's felt that this would be an increase in attracting these rodents, and as well as potentially other predaceous animals that would, be attracted to chickens, be it coyotes, fox, raccoon population, which, again, some people are all sides of this issue. Considering the number of dogs that are walked in my lawn, I would like to invite a coyote to come spend some time as a deterrent, but that's a personal statement. Now, clearly there are pro-chicken opinions on this, and there appears to be some interesting potential benefits from this, which I'm not really getting into because we were looking at the health potential impact from this. And so after weighing all this decision, and it was not a unanimous decision, but the majority did rule in terms of the board that we felt that there at this time was not appropriate to change the regulations to permit chickens to be raised in the urbanized environment of Skokie. Do you have any additional comments? I'm really here to answer any questions. Yes?
In your findings, in your research and findings, did you find any statistics about any illness in urban centers with the care or concern of hens? Any
Well,
illnesses?
as I said, the largest, the group that's looking at this the closest that we found was the CDC, as well as the health departments, from the variety of states. It was involving 48 states, the salmonella issue. So it's pretty much across the continental United States. And they didn't exactly define what would be an urban versus non-urban setting. But it was backyards. This was not looking at commercial poultry industry. That's a different, situation.
Thank you.
Trustee Klein.
Doctor, short and sweet, if backyard chickens would they increase our rat infestation, in your opinion?
Well, it's not just my opinion. It was the opinion of individuals involved in trying to control the problem, that it would be a problem. We know that bird feeders in general contribute to the increase. So now you're talking about a larger scale situation in terms of feed, as well as dealing with waste. You may have a stronger opinion than I, since this falls under your...
I have the same opinion as Dr. Owen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it clearly, it involves a tremendous amount of effort on the owner of the coops to maintain it according to the strictest standards to try to mitigate against these problems. And that's what these ordinances, like we looked at from Evanston, tries to achieve. We just didn't know how successful we are at being able to control the behavior of the humans that have the birds in their backyard.
Thank you, Doctor.
Actually, I'll just ask, since you did mention the part of, I guess this might be more towards Mike, you did mention the part of the HHS memo that did talk about the benefits of keeping chickens in Skokie. Could you maybe just highlight that part of your memo?
Sure. So you're asking about the benefits of keeping backyard chickens. Well, certainly as a source of locally sustained food, individuals who have backyard chickens can expect to have farm fresh, healthier eggs. There's been some studies to show that backyard chicken eggs are actually healthier. I think it has an increase in vitamin A and a reduction in cholesterol and other things. I also think there's a benefit in regards to just educating the public and educating residents on the keeping of chickens. And I also think that for people who care for animals and want them as pets, people name their chickens and care for their chickens and hug their chickens, and kids certainly enjoy having chickens in their backyard. So I think as a hobby, it's certainly, there is some benefit. And I think certainly, again, back to the sustainability angle, I think that, I think that's having local chicken eggs in your backyard certainly has a sustainability angle, although I would argue that the reduction in our carbon footprint with those chicken eggs really isn't that great compared to other sources. So. But we did take a look at that. I certainly see there being advantages to residents for keeping chickens. But like Dr. Lim mentioned, when Cameron Hendricks, who's sitting back here, he's the environmental health supervisor, you can wave, Cameron, and myself took a look at the same issue, our recommendation to the Board of Health was to continue with the prohibition for various reasons, one being the rats. And like I said to John Lockerbie, now just isn't the right time, I don't think. I think it's something that maybe we can revisit in the future, but right now I'm not recommending backyard chickens.
Can I just make one comment about Mike's comment? Because I too read some of the background suggesting that eggs produced by backyard chickens are in fact healthier than eggs can be purchased in a retail environment. And that's solely related to how you feed the chicken. So there are egg products where they feed the chicken feed often derived by, believe it or not, seaweed, which will increase the health profile from a beneficial point of view. And so you can get a lower cholesterol egg that are higher in desired nutrients by how you treat and how you feed the animal. Just simply being in the backyard, I don't think that necessarily would provide that. I just want to make that clear.
Trustee Sucker.
I have a question for Mike, Charlie. Can you tell me a little bit more about the complaints that have come through for chickens? I mean, I understand that right now it's not regulated and people some people have them even though it's not permitted. But I'd like to understand, like, some of the things you've come up with, you've noticed, or that, the complaints that went with that.
Yeah. So there are two primary sources of information that I looked at when I made our recommendation to the Board of Health. The first was a memo from approximately 10 years ago that was drafted by my predecessor, Dr. Kennard, and Bruce Jones, who was Cameron Hendrick's predecessor as the environmental supervisor. And within that memo, they had communicated that over a very short period of time, and this was back when animal control was actually in the health department, that they experienced a significant number of chickens at large. And that poses issues just for the fact that someone has to go collect the chickens, and then somebody has to try to find a home for those chickens. And the second piece of information I used was I reached out to the police department and requested data on chicken calls, just to figure out, you know, whether or not there were actually nuisance calls associated with chickens or not. And they went back about 4 years and provided me with 39 total calls that had something with chicken in it. And then I took a closer look at the data, and it showed that out of the 39 calls, 36 of those calls actually contained some sort of call specific to chickens. And what I found was that there was a percentage of the calls where at least 4 of them, I believe, were the people said that there were rats associated with people keeping chickens. There was some noise concerns with the chickens. And in general, there may have been one odor nuisance also contained in there. But in general, it was the same things that Dr. Lynn and I have mentioned tonight about odors, rats, noise, animals at large, or chickens at large, running free. So general nuisances. Noise was one of them too. There was a noise nuisance with the clucking of the chickens.
And so, just another question curiosity question is, what happens in the winter with chickens? And it's my understanding that there has to be, like, warmth for them, and that laying their eggs they lay a lot less eggs in the winter. Is that correct?
Yes. They lay less eggs. They lay more eggs in the spring and summer and less during the colder months.
And so do the coops have to have, like, heaters in them?
Yeah, I'm assuming. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I know enough about chicken coops to answer that question, other than I believe they do have to contain some sort of heater or some way to keep the chickens warm.
Because then I had a question about how the heaters work and if that causes any kind of risk.
So you just need to prevent the water from freezing so that they have access to water.
They don't require additional heating at all. Your body temperatures are 170 degrees.
Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Robinson, did you have a question?
I'll table it.
Okay.
Allison had a question.
Allison?
Thank you. How did that go? Thank you. Actually, it's not a question, it's statements. You said there's value to chickens because you could quote-unquote hug your chicken, which I get. But then, of course, we should be concerned because hugging your chickens does increase the salmonella. And I do know many young people who went to farms and thought chicks were cute and came back and they were kissing and hugging the chick. And with my children growing up, I know how many of their friends had issues with salmonella. So I think that's a great health concern that we have to take into account. Also, in doing some of the research on this, because I've taken it very seriously and I understand why people want them, I am quite concerned, as you mentioned, about the increase we've already got coyotes in the neighborhood, and I think it will bring more coyotes to the backyard, because unfortunately chickens are sitting ducks, and I don't mean in a rude way, but obviously that becomes, food for a different population. And the rat population, I do believe that if we would speak to the people who are in charge of rat abatement, as you have suggested, that if we increase the amount of chickens that we have, that we will give them a great deal of job security. which is a problem because we've already listening to residents and citizens who are complaining about the rat population. And if we allow additional resources for rat population, then I don't know how we keep it under control. So I'm very concerned that this is not the right direction for us to consider for the village. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess,
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
I'll just make a request, since since someone from our Board of Health spoke, I wanted to know if someone from our Sustainability Commission could address us, because they played a part in this review as well, and came to a different conclusion in their recommendation.
Yeah, there may be somebody here from the Sustainability Commission, but in the packet this evening is included the Sustainability Commission's memo that went to the Board of Health. The Board of Health considered that as part of their deliberations, and so the intent was for there to be one presentation to the board, just so all the board members are familiar with the process.
Not to put you on the spot too much, but since the chair of SEAC is here, since our Sustainability Commission voted almost unanimously to recommend that we allow backyard chickens,
That was a false, they did not vote unanimously, it was a close vote.
nearly unanimous. One person voted against it. Would you mind just sharing the SEAC's discussion with the board?
I don't have anything formally prepared. We weren't, officially tasked like the Board of Health was, so we didn't have the opportunity to have kind of the research or really in-depth discussion like I imagine the Board of Health did. Our memo was included in there, but again, our memo wasn't something that is really a culmination of an in-depth discussion. But in essence, we kind of started out with just to see where everybody stood on the issue. There was one member who was very against the idea. Otherwise, the discussion was kind of more than anecdotally, but kind of everybody sharing what they knew about the environmental benefits of keeping backyard chickens. And the memo kind of outlays those. I don't have it in front of me. I left my phone at my seat. But that's pretty much our position. We, as a commission, were much more in favor of permitting backyard chickens because of the environmental benefits. Obviously, our focus is sustainability versus looking at the health issues, so that really wasn't as much our concern. We discussed those, but we were just looking at it from a sustainability perspective, which from a sustainability perspective overwhelmingly supports keeping backyard chickens.
Excuse me, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Didn't the commissioner who was opposed to it inform everyone that she had experience growing up on a farm and talked about the odor, the strong odor? Do you remember that discussion?
Yes, she discussed her experience in another country. She wasn't aware of any regulatory framework that was, present there. So, and how many chickens, all those details that obviously would come into play here. But yeah, she talked about her personal experiences with noisy chickens. But also there were roosters, which was really what she was focusing on for the noise.
So when your commission took the vote, there was no research done, there was just basic discussion?
That's correct. It was brought to the commission for that meeting. There was no directive from the manager's office to ask us to look into the issue, which on other issues that we have looked into, we've done research like that. This was not a situation like that. So no, we don't have research, but we didn't, we weren't asked to do research.
So your supportive vote, there was no data furnished when you took the vote?
That is correct.
Thank you.
John?
Just so everybody's operating with the same amount of information, Trustee Johnson emailed the chair of the Sustainability Commission and asked the Sustainability Commission to take up the topic without me knowing. And so that's how this unfolded, just so everybody has the same information.
Just so we all have the same information, no member of this board has ever publicly asked the Board of Health to weigh in either. So much of this review has happened behind the scenes. So I hope we can all just keep that in mind.
Trustee Robinson?
Yeah, I was just gonna say you did a good job for being cold called, Commissioner. I know how, on point that was, or how uncomfortable that could be. So, nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Johnson?
Sure. I had submitted a short presentation, just so we could have some information on the screen. All right, so I had made this agenda request in August, asking the board to consider permitting and regulating backyard chicken coops in Skokie, with the understanding that these coops already exist. For years, dozens of chicken coops have existed in the community. If animal control gets alerted to them, sometimes they're shut down. But these kind of already exist. So my proposal has been to ask the board to consider regulating them, hopefully in a more official and healthy way. So if you can go to the next slide. So our sustainability plan includes an action item about revising zoning ordinances to remove barriers to urban agriculture, and specifically mentions yard and rooftop food production, beekeeping, front yard gardens, edible landscaping. Really anything that we can do to increase local food and backyard food production. If you can go to the next slide. So our two more urban and dense neighbors, Chicago and Evanston, they already allow residents to have backyard chickens. This has been allowed for many years. And a few of our more suburban neighbors like Glenview, Glencoe, and Highland Park do as well. So there's already a lot of precedent for this in the area. If you'll go to the next slide. I just wanted to give kind of a model of what this could look like in Skokie. This is some information about Evanston's licensing program for backyard chicken coops. From my understanding, they have somewhere between 25 to 30 active licenses. Residents have to apply, pay a fee, provide notice to neighbors. They have to be registered with the Illinois Department of Agriculture. They have to submit a site plan for what the actual coop would look like. As with every ordinance in Cook County that I've seen, no roosters are allowed. It's usually a limited number of just hens. And there are real strict requirements for keeping the coop enclosed to be protected from predators, strict requirements about maintaining and cleaning coops to prevent nuisances like odors and rodents. And these registrations are renewed annually and inspected by the city. There had been talk about someone from Evanston coming in to talk to the Board of Health before they made a vote, but that never actually happened. So 3 days ago, I actually reached out to Ellen Golden, who's Evanston's environmental health license coordinator, the person who coordinates Evanston's chicken program. And she said that all of the complaints that Evanston receives about chickens all concerned unlicensed coops, just like the ones that we already have in Skokie. She said that none of the licensed coops in Evanston have ever failed an annual inspection, and that a license has never been revoked. She said the inspections were actually really easy. And she said that going through the application and regulation process is really what ensures that applicants are very aware of what they need to do to ensure that their coops do not become a nuisance.
Did she tell you the cost?
Excuse me?
Did she tell how much the cost is for that? Inspection and licensing?
I
Just
asked about staff time and energy. All she said was that the inspections were very easy. That's,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. I didn't get more info, but so yeah, I guess my argument would be that since chicken coops already, exists and already have existed in Skokie for many, many years in a really unregulated way, that permitting and regulating them is really the best way to ensure that they're maintained in a really thoughtful way that's mindful of nuisance and in the process, hopefully support some of our sustainability goals for local food. And I'll make a motion. Or actually, I think there's some folks here.
Well, let's see, is there anybody who wishes to address the board on the subject? Yes. Yes. Yeah, we give everybody 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Gerald Van Dyke. I am interested in encouraging backyard chickens being licensed in Skokie and regulated. I think, as with any prohibited activity, people will, of course, do that and do it in a way that is not up to standards. So, as they were just saying, people out there have chickens and are potentially not keeping them in the best way. So having it be regulated, having it be looked at, having it be inspected yearly or even bi-yearly, that would be really great way to ensure that everything is done in the best possible way. I know a number of things about chickens and their care, and that they are extremely good at sequestering carbon. They are extremely good at eating food waste so that it doesn't end up in the garbage can, which is then permeable to rats. The food waste is immediately eaten by the chickens and converted to soil, and that can be added to people's garden beds and sequesters carbon in this manner. Yes, let's continue on. Chickens are extremely capable. They are able to defend themselves to a much greater extent than you would possibly imagine. Actually, there's videos online of chickens fighting hawks and winning. So they are quite able to defend themselves against potential intruders that are trying to attack them. Yeah. There's many benefits of having backyards chickens, including the fresh eggs that he was mentioning earlier, and the aspect of them not eating just any kind of feed, but eating really rich food scraps, etc., in addition to the really amazing, organic, pellets and whatnot that you can get at Ace Hardware. I'm sure if you contact the Ace Hardware in downtown Evanston, they will let you know about the amount of sales that they get in their chicken feed and stuff due to people having chickens. So it creates business. The town can obviously charge this $50 fee that Evanston is doing, but perhaps charge much more for the licensing, depending on whatever the time spent regulating and checking in on people's things are. I think people would happily pay more and take care of that end of things. Besides this, the questions regarding the bird flu, there actually was a lot of discrepancy around bird flu due to, there's various factors there, but there was a misunderstanding that this vitamin A deficiency that was found in a great many wild birds, which was actually due to them really gorging on cicadas, which were coming up in such large populations in recent years. And they misunderstood, those birds were actually going a little blind, and they misunderstood those signs as a bird flu, but it was actually a vitamin A deficiency caused by them almost solely eating cicadas. And this went away in the years that we didn't have a really huge cicada boom. So that is something to think about as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who wishes to address the board on this particular subject? Yes, ma'am. You come up, give us your name, please.
Thank you. My name's Natalie Gillespie. I apologize, I was sitting outside so I wouldn't cough through the proceedings, so I came in a little bit late. I've actually asked a friend of mine, Jennifer Murtoff, who is a local chicken keeping expert. She goes around and helps backyard chicken keepers make sure that their coops are safe, that they're educated, and that they don't fall into any kind of trouble. To come and help answer some questions if you have any more questions. Just wanted to thank you for having this on the agenda. As of right now, the change.org petition is at 1,300 signatures. Most of those are from Skokie. Do you have any further questions that might be answered by a professional chicken keeping expert?
Thank you. If we could,
Or ask just what kinds of regulations from municipalities do you feel like are most effective to ensuring that chicken coops can be managed in a way that prevents nuisances like odors and rats?
That's a good question. Historically, in working with municipalities, it's easier on the municipality if there are not a whole lot of onerous regulations, but I think it is important to have regulations in place. As you mentioned during the presentation, having, limits on, lot sizes and numbers of chickens, and you need to have a predator-proof coop. Things of that nature are important, and then also the permitting and application process are important for weeding out people who will not properly take care of chickens. Most of the villages that I've seen, a lot of my clients are the ones who are responsible, so they come to me with questions, and they do a great job taking care of their birds. But if you have that permitting process in place and some very minimal requirements that will reduce the amount of weight that's required for the village to carry as far as regulating things, that will go a long way in weeding out people who really shouldn't have chickens.
could I have your name?
Sure, it's Jennifer. The last name is Murtoff. That's M as in mother, U, R, T as in Tom, O, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, and my business is called Home to Roost LLC. I've been in business since 2008, helping people mostly in the Chicagoland area, but I've been branching out into like Singapore and Baltimore and California and Virginia.
Thank you.
And I have business cards if anybody's interested in talking further.
If you don't mind, leave your business card.
Sure. Yeah. Other specific questions? Thank you for having me here tonight, and I'm happy to entertain questions if you have them, or I can extemporaneously address some of the issues that were raised, whatever you would like to do.
I have some info that I found if you want to comment on.
Sure, and it depends on what it is, but I might need to do some research.
Okay. First thing I did is I went to the CDC.
Okay.
Because I figured that was, they confirmed what the doctor told us, that salmonella and bird flu are a great concern. Do you have any discrepancy with that?
Well, it's the degree to which. From what I've seen, the people I work with, if you go out into the coop, you pick up your birds, you come into the house, and then you wash your hands. Don't kiss your birds. So I would say just basic hygiene around handling animals. And there's also studies out there that show that kids who grow up on, say, Amish farms have a much more robust immune system because they are exposed to various things. I fell in the manure pit when I was 3, and I've been around chicken coops all my life, and that, of course, that's anecdotal. But and then to the avian influenza, yes, that is a concern. That barrier of human or avian to human transmission has not been crossed I think there are a few isolated cases, and those were where they were actually disposing of flocks that had the avian flu. Again, I need research on that. I'm sorry?
CDC said something different than it is.
Okay, can you tell me what it says?
I have it here, I'll give it to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. And I have one other thing, then I went to the other side,
Mhm.
and I tried to find a pro backyard chicken,
Mhm.
and I found backyardchickens.com.
Okay,
And they had warned that they attract rats, coyotes, raccoons, and possums.
Mhm.
Okay? But the only thing that bothered me, they gave a number of, their words, not mine.
Mhm.
Let me find what it said, that rats eat anything. If you have chickens, you will always have chicken poop. All you can do is try to put out rat traps. So they do warn that rats are a magnet. So, I mean, if you want to comment on that, fine. I'm just looking for the health benefits, ma'am.
Sure.
That's all we're looking at.
I can give you plenty of health benefits. So there are things that you can do to predator-proof and rat-proof your chicken coops. And those are things, I have chicken keeping classes that I put on at public libraries. I've done, I'm not sure how many of these over the last couple years. Did I do one in Skokie? At any rate, there are measures that you can take to mitigate the risks of attracting rats and of attracting predators. And those are always things that I address in my classes because they are very real possibilities. So that's realistic expectation, and it's realistic that chicken keepers, would-be chicken keepers or board members be informed of the preventive measures you can take to keep those things from becoming reality.
But to what cost? That's my question. You want predator-proof cage or coops.
Mhm.
How does that escalate the cost of keeping the chickens?
It's negligible. I mean, all you would have to do, I mean, you're not gonna set up like Fort Knox with guns and, little watchtowers to, knock out coyotes as they approach the coop. What you do to discourage digging predators is you sink hardware cloth. Do you know what hardware cloth is?
No, ma'am.
So it's
I assume it's just like a fencing.
It's a very sturdy metal. It's kind of like a grid that's made of metal, and it's welded together at 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch intervals. So it's incredibly sturdy. We don't use chicken wire in the chicken keeping world. Chicken wire keeps chickens in, it does not keep predators out. So you want to go with that ultra sturdy hardware cloth. So you would sink that down into the ground about 1 foot down, and then you would also skirt it out from the edge of the coop about 8 inches, and that'll discourage your diggers from coming up underneath. Another thing that some people do is they will completely sink hardware cloth into the ground and then run it underneath the whole footprint of their coop to prevent anything from coming up underneath the coop. So those are some of the rat and predator measures that people do put in place.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks so much, that was really informative. Hi there, my name is Zipporah Rhodes, and I just want to thank the board and everyone who created this opportunity, because I think there's a disproportionate reliance on people making complaints for making decisions that affect everybody, and not a ton of these opportunities for people to come and voice their support for something like this and their enthusiasm for something like this. So I really value this opportunity. I just want to, I think also, not only hearing the health concerns, but hearing the health and social benefits is really important to emphasize. So I'm just going to reiterate some of those that have affected me personally. The regular supply of more nutritious eggs, fresher, more nutritious eggs, the accelerated composting, and it just having that option to deal with your food waste of having it go to feed animals that you care for, and seeing them devour it with glee, it's a joy. And when it comes to their quote noise, when it's not roosters, when it's hens, it's clucking. It's like, it's a cute and homey sound that I think many people would enjoy, but you're not hearing from them, you're only hearing from the people with a complaint. 36 in 4 years or whatever was it quoted, one of which was a noise complaint. So there's not even a whole lot of that, but that's the voice that you're hearing. And then also using the composted material for fertilizer for growing vegetables, flowers, pollinators, instead of relying on chemical fertilizer is really valuable. Yeah, I think of the chicken manure as black gold, and it's really useful and beneficial. I really appreciated bringing in experts who have experience with raising chickens and guiding people through that process. I think more education is valuable as opposed to shutting people down. I think a sort of like literally not in my backyard attitude toward food sustainability is unfortunate. I think when there are things that can be done at the local scale, we should think about ways to support that and enable that and empower people and educate people to do that well, as opposed to shutting it down. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, everyone. So as I was sitting in the back listening to everybody's
May
opinion.
we have your name?
My name is Christine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as I was listening in the back and I hear about the chicken, the problem, the situation, about the health-wise. So I was sitting here and I said, it's not a bad idea to have it. Okay, but the CDC, they all have their own opinion both ways. One thing that I was thinking about is the neighbor. And I think that when people have chickens, there's gonna be complaints from neighbor. And the chaos, it's gonna be feud between neighbors. There's gonna be calling police and say these chickens, not everybody are involved with the meetings. They're not aware of what's going on. So, to the next step, so what are we gonna do about those people that's gonna complain about their chickens and they're gonna stand up for their rights, they are licensed. Then we have neighbors that are like, we don't want that in our yard, it smells, they're gonna complain about it. When their kids are gonna get sick, they're gonna blame the neighbor that has chickens, maybe they have bird flu, so those are just what comes to mind. Because then there's gonna be a lot of calling the police, you know. I didn't know anything about this. Again, these are only the people in the board here that knows about this. Not everybody goes online and listen here, but as we sit here, we want to think about not just what we want, but you know, the people's, the neighbors' feelings, what they think about it. You know, it's good that we want that also, to have natural food, everything about the environment. It's also good, it's not a bad thing. But also on the other side, the pros and cons about it. And me, I care about the community and the neighbors, and I listen to what they say. It's just that we want a peaceful agreement to this, and we really have to think about it. What's best, not just for, oh, because I want this. It's for everybody, not just in one person's opinion or what do you want. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Johnson.
All right, and I think the board's already kind of communicated their preference, but I will make a motion just for the sake of it. So given our sustainability plan goals concerning facilitating urban agriculture, I move that we request that staff prepare an ordinance to allow the permitting and regulation of backyard chicken coops in Skokie. And if there's not a second, I will ask, in what ways would the board be open to removing barriers to urban agriculture in Skokie?
Sorry, Mayor. So it's not about urban agriculture per se. Sustainability is important to me. I am quite concerned, as I suggested, about rats. and I am quite concerned about the increase in coyotes, and I don't feel that we answered that well. I feel that there's still that concern, and I don't know how it's in the best interest of Skokie to do something that will create additional rats when we already hear all the time about the rat population infestation, and I don't think at this time it's the right time to make this decision, because it is our responsibility to try to decrease the rat population, even though we know it's a larger global issue other than just Skokie. So that's why I'm not voting. I couldn't support it, because I've also heard from people who have called and said, please don't do this. I have enough rats, and I am concerned about that population in my backyard.
You were going to say something?
Well, I was going to say that there's other ways that we're doing really good things for the environment, that, you know, there were 205 action items, I believe, and
Yep.
we're doing really well. I really think the composting and the gardens, the community gardens, and people growing their own fruits and vegetables is a way that we can continue to do. I just agree with not at this time, because I feel like it's not the right time because of the issues with the rats.
So is it my understanding that due to the rat issue, we're gonna kind of abandon the action item about revising zoning ordinances to remove barriers to urban agriculture?
That's my take on it.
Okay.
For this evening, at least. Next item on the agenda is the Community Development Block Grant FY24 status update. Justin Malone. Justin?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight. My name is Justin Malone. I'm the village's neighborhood housing coordinator. I also administer the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, as it's shortened to. Tonight, I'm going to give you an update on our program year to date, and I'm going to provide some information on our plan for this upcoming year, and then also provide a summary of some of the next steps that you'll see for the upcoming months. Just a reminder, CDBG is a federal program that provides funding from HUD for communities across the country, aiming at assisting persons of low to moderate income, allowing for decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expanded economic opportunities. There are three main areas of how the program funding can be spent. The planning and administration category includes items such as the creation of plans or studies on a village-wide or region-wide level, and CDBG program oversight and coordination. The public services category includes funding for programs that provide items like senior services, counseling, or healthcare services. And the public facility and improvements category includes infrastructure repairs such as streets and sidewalks in low to moderate income neighborhoods, rehabilitation of community centers or facilities, and facilities for persons with special needs such as group homes, but also includes items related to housing such as home improvement programs or energy efficient programs. The main thing to remember about all of these categories is that it must cover the national objective, which is to assist low to moderate income residents of your community. Here are some of the applicants that are currently or previously have benefited from this program funding. Skokie is a community that has a great amount of public service agencies, all of which do really important work and provide the residents benefits in the different ways. And so each year we're really thankful for all those who apply for the program. And as another reminder, the village board approved our annual action plan for the 1 year for 2024 back in June, which effectively laid out how the money will be spent in those three categories that I just mentioned. So we approved over $665,000, which included the village's allocation for our 2024 program year that we received from HUD, as well as some additional income that we had from previous years that amounted from projects coming in under budget, so we're able to collect that over several years. And there's more detailed information on what has been budgeted in each of these categories in the memo in the village's board packet. But just to provide you a sense of where we are today, we have completed the first and second quarters of this program year. The second quarter just ended in October, actually. So we are 50% of the way through our planning and administration budget, and the public services have been spent 50% as well. And this includes items that are carried out by the village's social worker, who works, one of them works exclusively with low and moderate income residents. And we also are covering some activities for mental health services and some services for seniors as well. And then for our public facilities and improvements category, we've spent just shy of half. And this category includes that street resurfacing and sidewalk replacement projects that were completed with the help of our Public Works Department this year. They were able to get that completed before the weather turned, which is really nice this year. And it also includes our home improvement programs. For our home improvement programs, we are continuing to promote them so we can support those residents who want to invest in their properties in Skokie. And this includes making sure that our property maintenance inspectors have the information with them when they're out in the field, and so that they can hand this application or the flyer over to the residents who need assistance in help paying for these repairs. We've also had staff canvass parts of the village to get the word out, and at this time we have about 15 properties underway, various activities ranging from the beginning of the application process to approval, to bidding processes, and active construction work, so we're really excited about that as well. Okay, so this year is going to be quite exciting and very active for Skokie for the CDBG program year. At the top of our list is the fact that Skokie was invited to join the Cook County Consortium, and this consortium is a coordinated group of communities in suburban Cook County that work together to streamline the public processes, engagement with service providers, and address regional issues as a group to leverage the dollars that we get from HUD. Other communities in the Northern Cook County Consortium are Des Plaines, Arlington Heights, Palatine, Schaumburg, Mount Prospect, and Hoffman Estates. And the consortium has existed since the early 2000s. However, many communities have joined at different times between now and then. Joining the consortium would mean that we would benefit from additional technical assistance from HUD and the county, and collaboration on issues that would impact the region, issues that are really big, such as housing and mental health. Additionally, we would provide better service to our public service agencies by coordinating with other communities. Many of our applicants apply to funding from many different municipalities in the area, and they have to submit an application to each of them. And a lot of those municipalities may be on different schedules. And so by us getting on the same schedule as these other communities, we're essentially making it easier for them so they don't have to submit more than once a year, and not jump through any more hoops, and keep this really streamlined for them. In addition to this opportunity, the village is also due to update its 5-year consolidated plan. This plan is a comprehensive 5-year document that identifies the overall housing and community development needs of the village. It outlines available programs and resources, and then it establishes a strategy for prioritizing and addressing these needs. It is a plan that involves outreach and conversations with the community so that it addresses the goals that are unique to Skokie specifically. So there's a 5-year plan that we kick off when we look at long-term goals, and then there's an individual 1-year plan that is going at the same time. So there's lots of hoops in the air, but we got this, so yes.
How is this different from the I-Plan?
The I-Plan, is Mike Charlie still here? Okay.
Do you want me to talk about the
Do you
I-Plan?
know?
So the I-Plan is really focused on health and human services, and so it was created through a collaboration with a number of different entities, individuals within the community, and they have, I think it's 3 specific goals that they're working on for the next 5 years.
In terms of the year, is there any overlap? I guess where is the 5-year start between the I-plan and this 5-year consolidated plan?
The I-plan
Something
is-
about where there might be some potential overlap as well.
The I-plan is ahead, maybe by a year or 2, but I can get you the specific dates.
It would be helpful if we were all doing it all at the same time. Okay, so there are several next official steps for this to take off here. So the first thing is that we're going to do is we'll need to bring forth an approval by the board to shift our program year. Currently, the village's program year for CDBG runs from May to April, May 1 to April 30th, and we'll be shifting it to join the other communities starting October 1st and ending September 30th. So it'll be 5 months later. This will no longer align with our annual fiscal year that the village has, but that doesn't really matter because the village, that collaboration is done in a different setting and doesn't affect the CDBG allocations at all. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to work through the 2024 program year. Everything's going to stay the same that was approved in the last plan, and there are no changes to the projects that were approved. We are going to look to approve an amendment to our 2024 plan to try to access some additional funding for those subrecipients that are receiving money throughout the year on like a quarterly basis, so we can bridge that gap from May to October, so we don't leave them, without any funding for that time. And we're also going to, assuming that we do move forward with joining the consortium in spring 2025, we'll start drafting our 5-year consolidated plan and concurrently undertake the application process for the 1-year plan. So there's no breaks in anything. We are continuing with the 5-year plan, and we keep going with applications for the 1-year plan. The 1-year plan, the applications normally came out about November, December, and now we're thinking about maybe April and May for that timeline there. So our work basically starts tomorrow when we let all of our current providers know a little bit more about these next steps, the consortium, and our proposed timeline. Presented here is a high-level summary of the next several months, and there is a more detailed one in the packet about specific meeting dates that we're proposing for the next several months. Over the winter, we're going to start our process for our 5-year plan. There's a lot of public engagement that's required for that plan, and so we got to get started sooner than later. And then we're also going to work on amending our 2024 plan for that bridge funding. In the spring, we're going to continue our public hearings regarding our processes for the consolidated plan, and then we're going to make the applications available for 2025 and start the public hearing process. By law, HUD requires that we have minimum of 2 public hearings for this program, but Skokie has always done 3 just because they had written many years ago that they wanted more public engagement for this program. And then in the summer, we're going to finish our 2025 public hearings and submit our consolidated plan to HUD for review. And then in the fall, thinking that far ahead, we're going to anticipate finalizing any program year preparations, and we're going to launch the new program year on October 2025. If there's anything that we want to remember from all of this is that we used to have this going from from May to April, and now we're moving it hopefully to October, from October to September. So everything else about the program is the same. Besides that, it's just a shift in dates. I did want to remind everybody that the consolidated and action plans are available on the village website. They have to be publicly advertised for a minimum of 30 days during our process, and we have them online. We advertise them in the paper, a link to it in the paper, and then we have physical copies in our department as well. So I thank you for your time, and if we have any questions, I'm here for you.
Any comments or questions?
Is there a cost associated to joining the consortium?
No, there's no cost associated with it. We do anticipate some perhaps economies of scales and cost savings to be able to maximize the community development block grant dollars.
Thanks.
And the I-Plan started in 2023. It was approved late 2022, and then it started in 2023.
Thank you.
How does the consortium affect like applicants who are applying in the different towns?
Can you expand a little bit?
Like if they're applying for grants in the different locations, that's part of the consortium, how does that work?
So the program requires that you are assisting residents. When you apply for the program, you have to list the number of residents for that specific municipality that you anticipate assisting. So we do have some public services that that help lots of different communities, and so they have a breakdown of how many Skokie residents that they log in, that they assist, and then they have to send us a report quarterly on that as well. So they've been doing this for a long time. I assume that several of them know where to get the money from, and so hopefully this will just make it easier for them to apply only once.
So that's what I was trying to understand, so they'll only have to apply once?
If they were working with the municipalities that I listed,
Yes.
then they would only need to apply once to get, one time a year to get everything
Okay,
out there.
I just wanted to make sure I understood that, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final item this evening is public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to address the village board? If not, trustee Sucker?
If not, I'll if there's no one. I'm not gonna stay seated here tonight.
Are you speaking as sorry, point of clarification, you're speaking as a trustee or you're speaking as a resident citizen?
I'm both, always.
Okay.
For the 24th meeting in a row, I'm speaking in protest of the village board's political hiring and really overt misappropriation of village attorneys. Next month is going to be the 4-year anniversary, so to speak, of when members of this board sent 2 village employees from Skokie's legal department to personally attempt to bribe and to threaten me when I was an independent candidate for office. And the reason I keep bringing this up is because I am incapable of really letting this be brushed under the rug. Every member of this board knows this happened, and another trustee has confirmed it on multiple occasions. But it has now been 4 years, a full term in office, and nothing has been done to ensure that what happened to me will not happen again to someone else, and that is why I continue to speak out. Colleagues, next month, I am going, when I speak again from the podium, I'm going to be really direct. I'm going to be asking each of you very directly what you are willing to do to help resolve this conflict, which has gone on for way too long. I'm going to ask each of you one by one whether you are willing to take policy actions like updating our board's appointment process for attorneys, whether you're willing to improve our code of ethics for village attorneys. But if you are not, I'm going to ask you what specifically you are willing to do to ensure that what happened to me does not happen again to someone else. So I just wanted to give you a heads up so you can have 2 weeks to hopefully prepare answers to these questions, because it is really urgent that we find resolution. I have not given up on the possibility of preventative and restorative action by this board before our term together is finished. And I will not give up hope that that is possible. Thank you.
Can I give you something?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear things like that, and I don't know if it's mean, manic, or just misinformation, but we've heard it 24 times. But some things happened and are happening in town that I get real excited about. I get excited easy. So I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday, the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts is having their kickoff fundraiser going into the new season, which brings nothing but high, world-class entertainment to our town. And I just want, if you can, please support them. I want to congratulate the Fine Arts Commission, who just got done finishing up a, was it 30-day stint, having a pop-up art show with 60 local artists, and they got to show their work, and it was just a thing of beauty. And another thing that happened, this week, a group of people finished off a coat, hat, glove, scarf drive to help people with the Township Community Closet and the Respite Center. I just want to thank personally Peg Tolleson from the Township, Al Rigoni, our retired village manager, Alan Konetsky, Lori Flanagan from Impact, Lynn Cannon from the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts, our own Nick Wyatt and Allison Pierce-Slovan, who helped raise over 400 coats and 250 sets of hats, gloves, and scarves. And I want to congratulate you. Now, one last thing that happened, I happened to be there when it was delivered to the Respite Center and Community Closet, which are housed together in the church just south of us. And I'm talking to the lady who runs it. Her name is Victoria. And her gratitude was overwhelming. And just talking about the services that they give to people, especially the homeless. And then she told me that, yeah, we were able to help the homeless people wash and dry their clothes. And I said, that is so nice. And then I said, and then she says, yeah, we didn't have the money, so we asked somebody who wanted to remain anonymous and donated it. And that anonymous person was Michael Lorch. And I wanted to congratulate you for that donation. That was very nice.
Where's the anonymity?
Hey, I can blow anything I want. So, that's just some of the nice things I've seen in this last week. So, that's just me.
We have an executive session.
Yeah.
Nah.
I move we adjourn for an executive session.